this APK is what sort of we are ready to publish to the marketplace. So this was in brief, just sort of getting started with the tools, the development on Android. Some concepts very briefly. I don't think sort of it's fair to say that they explain or clear up every concept, but just sort of something that helps you get started. And once we are on, have an APK ready which we want to upload to the Android marketplace, sort of that is where another level of excitement comes in. On Android market, basically it's almost painless. It sort of is, you develop your application, you register on the site market.android.com/publish. There is a one-time fee of $25, which a lot of people wonder why it's there, but you can sort of upload and release unlimited applications. There is no limit on the number of versions that you can put out. Android market is relatively very simple to use. There is essentially no review process. The belief here is that users and the market forces themselves will decide which application is of good quality and which application is of poor quality. The uploads and updates are visible immediately or almost immediately on the marketplace. For the developers, there is no limit on the number of updates that can be put out. What you need is basically some graphics, some screenshots, icons, promotional material that you need to prepare, a short description, a title for your app, and the application binary. These are some of the sample application graphics from one of our application which is quite popular, and as I discuss more things related to the marketplace, the name of this application will come up again. The Android marketplace sort of lets you do a basic amount of targeting. So you can choose the country of distribution. So maybe you have, I don't know, the grocery list of a particular country or a region, or a feature that might be more relevant in a country, or there's a particular country in which you don't want to put out the app for some reason. You can choose that from the marketplace itself. There is the ability to control the device support also. So you can target specific hardware. Maybe if you create an application which requires certain things from the hardware, maybe it's the screen size, maybe it's the requirement for, let's say, GPS, certain version of OpenGL or something that's required. So the manifest definition itself can be created in such a manner that those devices are only the devices on which you feel confident your application will run. It will be released, or the application will be visible only on those devices. And even after that, sort of, if your users report or you find out yourself that certain device is not correct for your application, then they can be manually edited out. Now, the interesting part about the Android market is that generally at a public level also a lot of statistics and information is available. So this particular screen and this information is very helpful. So at public level and also at private level, wherein sort of for your own app, you get to know what is actually happening in the marketplace. So these are statistics around the platforms that are available and the distribution of those platforms by the number of phones that access the marketplace. So basically, when we start development, usually either we try and target the phone that we have, or we try and sort of target the latest version. But the best way would be to sort of try and figure out which would be the largest set that you can support in terms of platform that you can target. And this information generally is useful because it helps prioritize development and testing. So both of these things require time and effort. So information like this is something that is very important and useful for us to prioritize things. This data is not static, so it keeps evolving. So if we were doing this some while back, then Android 2.2 would cover a certain market percentage, 2.1 would cover a certain market percentage. But now this platform has newer and newer versions keep getting released. Sort of the volume of the newer platforms keeps increasing. So this is something that as a developer or as a serious developer who's got a stake at the marketplace, you should understand. And sort of in this landscape, if some application targets Android 2.1 and above, then they can almost cover all the devices. But if there's something which is specific to 2.3.3, then there are about sort of 38% of the devices that get covered. Uh, Apart from that, sort of there are screen sizes. So when you release, do you want to release an application only on a tablet? Do you want to release an application on all the devices? Do you want to reach out to the largest set of customers? So again, sort of these are some of the statistics which can help you decide which application or screen size to go after. And usually sort of if you're going after two main screen sizes, sort of the normal MDPI, HDPI, sort of you will be able to cover almost 90% of the market. And for someone who's starting out, it's good to target to sort of define things like this. There might be applications which are targeted only for tablets, for large screens. Then sort of those applications or the developers would be aware of the market size that sort of they are in some sense ignoring. Now these two pieces of information are publicly available. They keep getting updated pretty often. This is something which is from a live application, Hangman, on the uh, from the marketplace, and the feedback, like the particular handsets which are getting used for our application, is very useful for our testing team for creating inventory of phones on which we can test. So phones finally sort of cost a lot of money, and having them in your repository is important. So sort of the most popular phones is what we try and prioritize, and that information on the uh, app store or the marketplace is very easy to get. And the second piece of information which helps us a lot is the country of distribution. So Hangman in particular is an application which is very content sensitive. So I mean the kind of content that we put out, it matters. So sort of people in the United States are interested in certain kind of content. People in India are interested in certain kind of content. So it just helps us define and sort of prioritize what goes first and what goes next in terms of content, which are the countries that we need to focus more on, right? So all this feedback from the App Store helps a lot. Apart from the automatic sort of data that is generated, there is the user reviews and comments, and the comments that sort of, fortunately, when I took this screenshot, I mean, you need to trust me, I was not manipulating these stars, but they came out to be good. But a lot of times people are able to point out problems, issues, give feedback, give feature requests, which on balance are very good input. So once you sort of have a substantial number of inputs, it helps, and the feedback on the marketplace is quite immediate and quite vocal, and that is something that I really appreciate about the Android marketplace. One thing which, as a developer of any application, and especially in mobiles, this is a very good feature. So I'll just sort of step back and try and explain this. See, what happens is, in case of a web application, you put something on your web server and people come and look at that website from their browsers. If there's a bug, there's an issue, you can sort of debug it on your server. You can quickly fix it, and the next time that the guy comes to you, the issue is already fixed for him, is the new version that's available. In case of an application, especially in mobile application, the huge amount of distribution that the app stores are able to achieve, and by the very nature of an application which sits on the handset, it's, I mean, the stress on testing and everything is far higher because you can't release updates in an instance, right? People need to make choice and pick up those new updates or those new releases. Now, once the things are out in the world, knowing what will happen on someone's phone or what problem someone is facing is usually very hard. So if a customer gets back to you saying that his application has crashed, unless until you develop frameworks on your own, there is no way you're going to know what that crash meant. And the customer is not a geek who's going to sit and reproduce the scenario for you, create stack traces for you and send them to you. The Android marketplace does that for you, and it creates reports. It tells you how many instances of a particular problem has happened, so that it helps you identify problems and correct them as soon as possible. Beyond that, sort of the other feedback mechanism that is available is support mail, and we get a lot of mails there also. Generally on the marketplace, I don't have too much in terms of strategy because there are a lot of things that we are figuring out, but I would recommend that whenever you put out an application, you should plan at least 3 or 4 versions around it, and each version sort of should be spaced out at about a month so that you get time to get a lot of input from people, collect a lot more data, and if there is an immediate bug fix or something that's required, then there could be releases in between which are targeted for the bug fixes only. Now, sort of that's about it from me. I'll just sort of quickly summarize what I've gone through. So Android is fun and exciting. Whatever your idea is, you can get to implementing it very, very quickly. Uh, the good part would be that you don't keep it to yourself. You release it on the Android market, get feedback, and then you evolve your idea. And with fingers crossed, maybe sort of your idea will be the next big thing. There are some references that I've put up here. The Android developers site is very good, and there is a lot of material available there. I had it open sort of here, so you should always refer to this site, and I've picked up a couple of videos that I've put in here, and the first one is actually on getting started on Android, understanding those concepts and understanding the Android marketplace. So if there are sort of things that you would like to learn more about those, then you can look at these 2 particular videos also. Uh, Thanks a lot